This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. Now today we're going to be talking about something that I found very interesting when I started thinking about the idea. And that's dungeon crawls and their sequels or revisions. Do they get better? And I wanted to grade a bunch of them, and I wrote down, and this isn't something that I'm going to do all in one video. I think, in a couple of weeks when I come up with some more, I'll put some more on this list. But, right now we got kind of the obvious ones and how you grade them. Now, the way my grading system is when you come out with a game and it may be flawed or banged up or something, or just even perfect, does the sequel or revision or, the next printing when they make changes, does it make the game better, or does it degrade from the game? Does it take the game down a peg? Whether it's a sequel or however they decide to upgrade it, maybe different components, maybe different artwork. Does it take the game down a notch? So I started looking and I started putting a list together and how this all comes together. And what we'll do is we'll get this started and you'll see where we're going. So I made a list here, and believe it or not, and have a whole bunch of grades for different types of games and their sequels. So without further ado, let's get started here. So the first game we're going to start with is one that I had the original when it came out, and then I got a chance to play the second edition of it, which was just a Kickstarter only type, and that's Claustrophobic. Claustrophobic on its own was a decent game. It was one of the first when I started the channel that I had brought in, and I was fascinated by it. It was interesting. The miniatures were okay. The paint jobs on them were horrible, and but for what the game was, it was a lot of fun, and it got a lot of playability here. Eventually, I sold it off. When they came out with the Kickstarter a couple of years ago, I got a chance to play it, and it was an improvement. Of course, the miniatures weren't painted. The gameplay was okay, but it didn't do that well. I don't think it really knocked a lot of people off its feet, and I think the original still held up. So I'm going to give that a C, okay, as far as the revision of that game. So Claustrophobia, we're going to give that a C. It did enough to improve, but it just didn't light everything on fire the way you would think it would have. Another one that I want to talk about, and this one kind of is borderline, because is it a dungeon crawl? Kinda, a little bit, but not as much. It could be a PvP game, and that's Arcadia Quest. Now, Arcadia Quest is a game that's very near and dear to me. It's something that I played a lot with my son and my daughter. We played the heck out of it. We loved it. And the expansions that came out were just fantastic. And as always, the quality was ridiculous and through the roof. Simon does a fantastic job with games like this. But then they came out with Inferno Quest. And Inferno Quest was an improvement. It had a single player mode, which really helped, especially when that came out. The kids kind of went off on their own, and here I am, playing pretty much things by myself. The dragons are very personal to me. I love the different types of dragons, from the frost dragon all the way through. That came with that Kickstarter. And it was an improvement over the original Arcadia Quest. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. And, you know, here's a situation where you had a very, very good game and then you improved upon it. Now, some people don't like the theme and the demons and stuff like that, but I thought it was very, very, very good. And it fit, and, you know, some people like chibi, some people don't. I like the different dragons. We painted one of the dragons with my grandson, which was very personal for me. And I'm going to give this a B+. So, the Arcadia Quest upgrade to Inferno Quest gets a B+. The next one we're going to look at, and I had to be very careful with this because this game developed 15 different ways. So I split it into two. And that's Hero Quest. Now, Hero Quest, there's two ways that we can look at it. We can look at the one from the 80s, and then they revised it and came back out with it here, in 2000, I think 2021, somewhere in there. But the one that I want to look at, and I'm going to include that in here and try to put this together. But you went from Hero Quest to Advanced Hero Quest. And I think Advanced Hero Quest was a massive improvement for this. And then, for them to bring back, Hasbro to bring back Hero Quest nowadays, so a younger generation, does the game hold up? I think it does, because it brings younger people into the game. But Advanced Hero Quest was such an improvement, especially in a day when you didn't have as much. It was either Dungeons and Dragons or nothing. And I think it does such a great job that this also was a great improvement. And then to bring this alive in this day and age, to bring Hero Quest back, I think that in itself, with the better sculpts, the more solid board, the better components, not a massive improvement, but a good enough improvement to fit into today's day and age. And with that, I've got to give that a B+, without a doubt, a B+. The next one we're going to look at is Warhammer Quest, since we're on this subject anyways, because it went from, Hero Quest, Advanced Hero Quest, and then, whatever happened, whatever fallout there was, and then Warhammer Quest did their own thing. Well, the original 95 is an all-time classic and an all-time favorite of mine. As much as we would love to see a sequel to it, they tried to do that, and I think they failed on this. Curse City and the other two. The other two were decent, but it wasn't the Warhammer Quest that we remembered. You could have took the Age of Sigmar, and you could have took and put that system with a role-playing book and all that stuff, and gave people so much. And all you had to do was just upgrade it to their fantasy system that they had. Or to even come out with a sequel, or even a reprint would have been fantastic. And I think they missed a mark here. I do really, I enjoyed the first one that came out, and then I think it was something Hammerhall and so forth and so on. But the replayability wasn't as great as with the original Warhammer Quest. I mean, you could do just about anything with it. There was pretty much kind of a set storyline, and that was it. And once you were done, you were done. But, it wasn't bad. I liked the dice placing system. I really enjoyed that. It was a far change. But for me, when they came with Curse City, when we had so much hope and so much old world, just hoping that they'd bring back the old world even, and the humongous letdown, I have to give this a D-. This is definitely a D-. I'm actually writing these scores down because I'm doing this as I think. But a D- without a doubt. And the reason I'm doing it this way is I want you to see how I think and how I put this. Now, as we move on here, okay, swords and sorcery. I know I have a hard time saying that, and I apologize, and whatever. I can't tell you. I'm partially deaf, and I have a tough time saying certain words. But swords and sorcery, I'm really trying to pronunciate it. When that came out from Ares Games, I thought this was very good, but it was kind of dragged out. I remember playing it at Origins with Sam Healy, and we looked at ourselves and we thought, hey, this is a very, very, very good and solid game. And we really enjoyed it. We thought it was a lot of fun and really, really hit home. But we were there from 8 o'clock till 11 o'clock. And I think that was because the first time we were playing it. It came out with some expansions, which were pretty good. And then they came out with the next edition of it, which made some improvements. But overall, I just think it kind of stayed the same. And it's one of those games that I always felt that was kind of... It was good, but it wasn't great. So, it didn't make enough changes. The story changed. The story's good. The miniatures were nice. The components were nice. It just really, really is just kind of that middle of the road of the game. And the sequel to it did nothing to improve that. And that's why I'm going to give that a C+. It's just that game that's right in the C+ area. So a C+ for that. Next, we're going to take a look at Massive Darkness. Massive Darkness 1 was a good, solid game. But again, it was in that C area. But this last Kickstarter, Massive Darkness 2, and all its fantastic components and everything that it does, and how beautiful an improvement to the miniatures, an improvement to the gameplay, the improvement overall, the Kickstarter, how massive it was. This was a massive and very positive improvement. So with Massive Darkness, which was very good and very solid into itself, but it kind of fell into that swords and sorcery. It wasn't, the darkness, the light, and all that stuff. For me, it kind of almost overshadowed a few things. But in this one, it just made enough improvements all the way around to really bump this up. And I'm going to give this a very solid B. And for me, I really like how that worked out. Next, we're going to talk about the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons system, the Dungeons and Dragons box system. Ravenloft and Driz and all that. All of those, when they came out and they would come out with another one, it just got better and better. Okay? And it wasn't, and if they stopped there with the main boxes, because, you had the Mad Mage and all that, which all were very solid. Annihilation and all that, very, very, very solid. But when you got to Saltmarsh, that's when it kind of jumped the shark in a bit. And it's kind of hard to kind of really downgrade this. The Saltmarsh and the one that, well, you can use all the systems for expansion, really kind of brought it down, because this was in the A category, because every one of them was simple and fun. The components were the best. But it was in that A-, B+ kind of area that you were happy, you were excited every time a box came out. Saltmarsh really brought that down. And I think when you really think about it, I think that brings the whole thing down to a B-. Now, hopefully they can improve upon it, come out with another box set, maybe do a couple things. I mean, I really liked when they had the pre-painted minis. They weren't perfect, but it made it easy. The system, D20 system, is just so simple and and perfect in its way, and just does a great job. That it's kind of hard to go under a B with it because of how this system has just gone from for so long, and just having the last couple just being really not that good. So hopefully they can rebound and bring this up to an A minus where it should be. Next, we are going to take a look at Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, which a lot of people kind of have a problem with in a way, because it's a Euro feel to it, and there's a lot of battling and things like that, and it's repetitive in a way. It still was one of the top games of all time, and considered one of the top games that reach out as far as a dungeon crawl. Your Euro players will play it. Your hardcore dungeon crawl people will play it, and it's a very good solid game. But Frosthaven came out, and Frosthaven added so much: the defense of the city, building up the city, and so many different nuances in collecting resources to help build these things. And I think it was a vast improvement. I think, even the expansion, Jaws of the Lion, was an improvement. And it had things along the way that consistently, the Jaws of the Lion, small individual kind of separate game, but still Gloomhaven. And it was enough to draw people in, really draw people in. And that's why this game just really does fantastically, because it hits so many different things. It has that role-playing, element that people absolutely love. It has that Euro game feel that people absolutely love. It hits on so many different levels, and it does what it's supposed to do. Of course, your hardcore dungeon crawler is not going to, it doesn't do this and doesn't do that. Well, there's always something with something. And for me, I just feel that the constant improvements and, the theme and how it worked. And I was really impressed with Frosthaven. I mean, I went and I paid big bucks to bring that baby in, and I'm very happy that I did. I'm going to give that an A minus. I really think that falls into the A minus category. Now, our next game, the one that you're really waiting to hear about, and that's Descent, because there are 3 different versions of this. The 3rd edition, the 1st edition, all-time classic. The 2nd edition, another classic for some people. And then the 3rd edition. I'm going to leave the 3rd edition out because there's an expansion coming for it, and I'm just going to rate it on the 2 editions that are complete, because I'm still on the fence with the 3rd edition. I still have my bones to pick with it, and I think I need to revisit that, which I think I will very shortly. And I think it'd be a good time to revisit it. With apps and all this other stuff, whatever. The 1st edition I thought was just fantastic. I liked what it did. I loved the book that you were able to purchase, the expansions for it, how you were able to do different things with it, and it just became this masterpiece. People said it got kind of bogged down though, and I get that. But it is one of the most classic. The 1st edition that I still have and I will never let go. Just an absolute classic. And a matter of fact, I had 2 sets of it, and I auctioned it off for charity, and people jumped all over it because they still love what the 1st edition does. Then came the 2nd edition, and this is where I kind of have a problem, don't have a problem. The 2nd edition seemed like a race more than a dungeon crawl. You were trying to hurry to get to one end, and it was always you were just under this pressure or timer to do things and get things done. And it wasn't a true dungeon crawl in the sense at times. But all the expansions, the beautiful minis, how it did things, it had its place. Some expansions were fantastic, some were okay. And was it an improvement from the first? For some people, because it scaled things down, made things simpler in a time when people were really gravitating towards playing games again. And I think it really brought a lot of people into the dungeon crawl genre and really helped. For me, this is a hard call, because I want to keep the 3rd edition out on it, because I'm still on the fence with that, and I think it needs another playthrough, which it really does on this channel, to be fair. Okay, and I need to give it a better, fair shot, and be fair to it. So when I think of this, from the 1st edition to the 2nd edition, the 1st edition is an all-time classic, but it was very heavy and very, people felt it was bogged down. 2nd edition, a lot faster, a lot streamlined, but it was missing on a lot of things. So, where is the balance here? Something, to be fair to this game, I think you give it, right now, at this moment, we give it a C. And because I'm going to be doing some more videos and digging some more of these up, that I think, as you suggest things for me to grade, maybe, as I do other videos, maybe we come back to this after I go to the storage unit and bring out the set. I think we should do that and give it a go. So why don't we do that? And for now, I think let's give it a C plus. I think a C plus is good. And it's so on the border of just keeping it at a B, because both versions do so many things right, and it's kind of hard. And the 3rd edition, does it bring it down? I guess we just got to take a second look, and I think we come back to Descent and maybe regrade it. And any of these that come out with things. Now, I have a whole nother list that I want to do another video, but let's see how this video does and if people enjoy this. And if you have some suggestions that you think I should grade, then please submit them here and put them down in the comments, as always. Until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon, everybody.